Okay, we're going to call the Star City Council meeting to order. It is Tuesday, August 3rd, 2021, 7 p.m. I'm going to have everybody please stand and we will do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And we're going to have our invocation tonight by Mr. Joe Carson. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mayor, for honoring the Lord and asking for blessing this evening. Do I need to pause? Are we good?
No, you're
We're good, okay. In the fourth book of the New Testament, the Gospel of John, we read Jesus' words. He said, "Let not your heart be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you to myself, that where I am, there you may be also." So if we consider that passage, there are four short things to consider as we go to prayer before this meeting. The first one is Jesus' command, "Let not your heart be troubled." And there are three following reasons why he made that command. First of all, I think all of us in here probably brought some kind of trouble with us, whether we're the troublemaker, or perhaps trouble was thrust on us, whether we intended it or not, or it's trouble that we brought on ourselves, or perhaps it's not even real trouble that we're just worrying about. Jesus knows that's our tendency. He even expressed being troubled in spirit during his ministry. We read that in the Gospels. But he said, "You believe in God, believe also in me." We're to not let our heart be troubled, first of all, because he is deity. He can do something about it. And it would be frustrating for us to go to him in prayer if he could do something about it and did not. But we can take heart because the next statement he says, "I go to prepare a place for you, and if I go to prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you to myself." Not only can he do something about it, but he wants to do something about it. And then finally, he will intervene. He will thrust himself into our affairs, but the mechanism is belief in him. The one verse that I left out that punctuates that passage is verse 6 in John chapter 14. And Jesus says, "I'm the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes to the Father but by me." Please join me in prayer. Father, we thank you that we're here straddling two realities. We're standing in the reality that is, in the business at hand. And we know that human affairs are important to you, but we know that there is the reality of eternity, the non-physical, that is just as real, but more importantly, we understand that it's permanent. And Father, help us this evening with whatever trouble that we brought into this place tonight, whether it's personal trouble within the city, whatever it might be. Father, we bring that to you and we ask you to intervene in human affairs individually and collectively, because Lord, we know that you can, we know that you want to, and through Jesus Christ, we know that you will. And so we commit this time to you. Would you grant wisdom to all of those involved, the mayor, his staff, all of those people who are good enough to attend and participate. And we trust for your blessing in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that very much. Roll call.
Hershey.
Here.
Keys.
Here.
Chadwick.
Here.
Salmonson.
Here.
Nielsen.
Present.
And just so where the record's clear, that Salmonson's participating remotely today. Thank you. All right, we're going to do an introduction here. Chief Vogt has an introduction to make for everybody.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Jake Vogt, Chief of Police, Star. I would like to introduce our new persons crime detective to Team Star. As you know from a couple meetings ago, our former detective, Neil, transferred to a promotional position up at Barrister. We're fortunate enough to steal Ashley from Barrister most recently up there. She specialized in domestic violence crimes. That's specifically her work while she was up there at Barrister doing the follow-up. And they're, as you can imagine, they're very important cases, one of the most important things that we do investigate. So she brings that experience in addition to, broad law enforcement experience. So we're very fortunate to have her, and so just wanted to put a face to a name. And she really likes to talk in public, so she wanted to say hi.
So we're just going to say, Miss Ashley, welcome. You get to present the budget.
Yes. Well, I was curious how far I'd have to push this thing down back there. It looks a lot taller. I'm Ashley. You guys I'll be your new detective, at least for persons crimes. And I'm looking forward to working with all the guys out here in Star. I know all the deputies and chief, of course. So I'm excited to be kind of the go-to person. If you guys need help, you can always give me a call and do what I can.
We're excited to have you. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
joining us in our town.
I appreciate it.
So appreciate it. All right, we're going to move on to item 4, the consent agenda. Anybody?
So, Mr. Mayor,
Uh,
the minutes from May 4th are still not available.
Okay,
We emailed out the July 20th this morning.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
oh, speaking to your microphone there. Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda considering, excuse me, the consent agenda with item 4A, approval of claims provided and previously approved July 16th to July 26th, 2021. Item 4B, July 20th, 2021, city council meeting minutes.
Okay, we got a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Item 5, we're on to the public hearings and action items. The first one, the public hearing for the Canyon Highway District 4 impact ordinance is being postponed, I believe till August 17th. Is that correct, Mr. Jacob? Okay, so we'll be hearing that on that day. So we're going to move on to the budget presentation. So give me just a second here. Oh, let's talk about this real quick, sorry. So get in a hurry. During this presentation, if you guys want to speak, please sign up on the sheets in the back. I believe, I think everybody did, didn't they? Correct? I just want to make sure everybody that wishes to speak did sign up. Okay. When I will do the presentation of the budget, we'll have you folks come up and speak towards that budget. We're not going to make a decision tonight. The decision won't be made till August 17th. We're going to leave the written record open until August 13th. So those that wish to review the budget online and want to make a written comment can do so. Those written comments need to be emailed in or hand delivered here, but emailed in to Jacob Qualls right here, our city clerk, which is jqualls@staridaho.org. And it's JQUALLS@staridaho.org. Okay. Anything else, Jacob? No?
I'll be reading the handwritten ones or the ones that came in
Okay.
today.
And we have some handwritten ones that came in that Mr. Jacob will be reading here at the end. All right. And Jennifer can hear us just fine, right? So I'm going to come here this time. I'm going to shut off one of the lights first. And then, yes, I get yelled at here for making sure I speak into the mic. So is that too dark? Can you see that? Do I want to turn on one light? Anybody? Turn on one light? Well, it's, yeah, we only have a choice of those two options. Is that all right? You can see it? Okay, cool. Very good. All right, so I'm going to talk to you about our budget here for this next fiscal year, 2021, 2022. Back there on the table and online, there was this packet right here. Did you all receive one of those or pick one up? Okay, good. Very good. Because we're going to basically go through this with that packet. All right. So my name is Trevor Chadwick. I'm the mayor here of Star. I've been a mayor since 2020, January thereof. A little bit about our mayor's message. I don't know if you guys read this or not, but I think this is pretty important, and I'm going to read this message, okay? Our country, state, and city experienced many exceptional and even historic events during the past 12 months. The COVID-19 pandemic touched all of us in one way or another, some negatively, but for others, it created unique opportunities for us to come together. People left areas of our country that were struggling with shutdowns and economic challenges to come to the state of Idaho and our great city. Despite these challenges, the city of Star thrived because of the policies and planning that we put in place by the local officials. As a city, we chose not to shut down businesses, churches, or infringe on the individual rights. We encourage individuals to make the personal choices necessary to protect themselves and their families while they continue to work and provide services and income for their families and employees. Our great city banded together to become stronger and more economically sound. By keeping our government out of private industry, Star businesses not only survived, but we saw new businesses invest in Star. Commercial growth in Star is very important for three big reasons. Property taxes is the first one, job creation and local services. Star's property tax burden currently falls mainly on homeowners, which still about 93% of our property tax income comes from residential versus only about 7% commercial. Our skyrocketing home values in Star make it even more important that we increase our commercial tax base. My goal has always been to drive down the residential tax burden by bringing in more businesses. So we've had Ridley's Family Market, Ace Hardware, and Les Schwab open in the past 12 months. We have Albertsons and Greylock custom cabinetry projects that have been approved and are getting, Albertsons is building and Greylock's getting ready to start build. And our limited commercial centers are filling up, and several local businesses here plan to expand their current operations. They've bought properties to build bigger facilities, which is awesome, right? There are several other businesses considering Star, which I can't tell you about yet, but soon we will be because I've been in talks with them. New businesses also mean an increase in our local employment base. Aside from the prospect of seeing our tax ratio shift, I'm happy to see the job opportunities being provided to our citizens and allow them to work closer to home. For years, Star residents have had to travel 5 to 7 miles in any direction to dine, shop, or work. Additional businesses mean additional services and goods being provided locally and fewer, shorter car trips on our roads and highways. So with that, the state of Idaho recently reported that it ended the year with a nearly $900 million surplus. Our legislative members in our district have been working hard to try to get those funds back to you. And I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but the state is going to start issuing some refunds back of 9% of what you paid in 2019 towards state taxes. So I think that starts this week. So that's a pretty good deal. With that, I am considering a property tax rebate to Star residential and business property owners. This would only apply to property taxes paid in this budget year of 2020 and 2021, which is this current year. With the incredible growth that we've had, we have a surplus of revenue from new construction. The council and I have worked hard on ensuring that growth will pay for itself by creating first of its kind proportionate share agreements, impact fees, and other agreements. This governing body strongly believes the new construction should pay for its share of necessary services and improvements. And there's going to be years that may come when the economy is not as robust and we'll have to operate with a lean budget. But when the economy is thriving, surplus revenue should go back into your pockets. Now, there's a lot to be worked out on the property tax rebate. The property tax rebate, there's a lot of discussion that we're going to have. Oh, did we lose that? There we go. There's a lot of discussion that we're going to have on the property tax rebate to see if this is going to work. So my proposal here is to rebate you back half of the property taxes you pay to the city of Star, right? Not the $3,000, half of the $3,000, but half of the share that would have came to the city of Star. And that'll be done through, and this is where we have to do some discussion on this. And my proposal here is to do it through some of the extra income that we receive through our building, electrical, plumbing, and mechanical permitting. Where is the... it's funny, I've used this, but I haven't. Is that, okay, there we go. I got it, laser pointer. And you know what? I know this is red and I could barely see that and I'm colorblind in shades of red. So bear with me here. So these are this is the income right here that we've received in 2020, 2021 so far through July 22nd. We do pass through costs on this to our inspectors, and this is about the cost that we pass through right here, right? And then here's our salaries for our planning and building department right there with all your subtotals. So if I take all this income and subtract out all these expenses, we have about $1,149,000 in additional revenue right now. And then if we did half of the property taxes that we collected last year is about $741,000. And we put in a filler number of $50,000 to mail checks administration because we are looking at the options of how this would happen. We just haven't got anything back yet, which would give us, with the current monies, about $358,000 of additional revenue, which does not include our last 2 months of the fiscal year, which is August and September's numbers calculated in here. Okay? So that's our proposal. I think it's the first of its kind, but like I said, there's a lot of vetting that has to be done with that. And once we figure that out, we'll see if we can make that happen. So when we look at our budget, we look at things in 2 ways. We look at our reliable income versus our mandatory expenses. So what is reliable income? Our reliable income on our sheets is looking at property taxes, revenue sharing, liquor revenue, and franchise fees from power, cable, natural gas, and waste management. That's income that comes in regardless of any building or any of that kind of stuff happens here within the city. Okay, and so those are what we look at for reliable income. When we look at mandatory expenses, we consider, as our council and myself, the mandatory expenses as our police, animal control, city attorneys, and associated legal fees with Ada County Prosecutor's Office, city payroll, and associated employee costs and liability insurances for the city. So those are the bare minimum things that we have to supply in order to keep the city running. So our goal is to get as close to net zero in those numbers as possible, right? With our income to our expenses on the reliable income and mandatory expenses, okay? Then we have pass-through income versus pass-through expenses. Hang on. So pass-through income is just that. It's income that we collect that we have to pass on to another agency. For instance, we have Star Park impact fees up to, what's that? I'm sorry.
I was handing him a water, sorry.
Oh, okay. So Star Park impact fees. Every single residential unit that's built in Star, whether it's a single family home or multifamily home, pays a $2,050 Star impact fee. That money can only be utilized on the capital improvements of parks or land acquisition of parks, right? That's all that can be used on. So that's a pass-through. ACHD impact fees. For each new residential development here in Star or in Ada County for that matter, they pay a $3,433 impact fee, to which we have to pass all 100% of that money back onto ACHD. So we don't even see that. That comes in and that goes straight out every single month on there. Each business and multifamily unit pays a fee as well, but those fees are collected by ACHD because there's a massive chart that they utilize that determines what they pay based on the type of business and stuff that they have. And you can see that I provided you with a link to look at that impact fee schedule with ACHD if you're interested in that. In 2019, the Star Fire Department entered into an agreement with City of Star to assess an impact fee for all new housing and business permits. So for every single house that's built in Star, the unit pays an $809 impact fee, again, to be used on capital improvements only for the Star Fire Department, which would mean a new facility or new equipment for that facility. On each commercial facility, they pay about 38 cents per square foot towards those impact fees on there. So every 100,000 square feet, you can kind of figure out what that 38 cents per square foot is. The city does receive with the Star Fire District a $20 processing fee for each permit that is issued. And that was part of the agreement we set up back in the day. When I say that, that was just 2 years ago. Canyon Highway District 4, this is something we're working on right now with Canyon Highway District. The City of Star, the City of Middleton, and Canyon Highway District, which handles all the roadways on the Canyon County side of Star, all the way to Middleton, work together to create an impact fee to do improvements over there. We spent, we spent $25,000. Middleton spent $25,000 and Canyon Highway District paid the rest for this. The proposed fees for new residential units in Canyon County are $5,039 per unit, quite a bit more than Ada County's impact fee. But that is, the reason for that is no impact fees have ever been collected on Canyon Highway District 4, and there's several improvements that need to be made on those highways or on the roadways over there on that side. The unique thing we have with Canyon Highway District 4 is they maintain all the roads for the city of Star on the Canyon County side. They don't maintain the roads for the city of Middleton. They have their own highway department over there, okay? And so Canyon Highway District 4 maintains all of our roadways there. We're in agreement. And then we have the proportionate share agreement that we set up with ITD last year. I think it was April of last year. Each housing unit in Star is has to pay an impact fee toward, or not impact fee, but a proportionate share towards highway improvements within the city of Star. The beauty of this agreement is all the money that's collected stays here. It doesn't go to ITD's general coffers to be spent anywhere else. It stays here locally. When you go to ACHD, all of our impact fee money that we collect goes to ACHD to be used on any roadway network within the Ada County based on their 5-year work plan and their plans. So with the proportionate share agreement, we collect those fees with these new developments to be used on highway improvements on the 3 highways within the city of Star, which is Highway 16, Highway 2026, and Highway 44. Currently, we have over $2 million in those fees, and not collected, but $2 million committed because they only pay those fees when they get their final plat signed off. And that's when we collect the fees based on the final plat. So that money, again, cannot be used for anything else but for for the state highways here within Star. And in fact, we're working on a project right now to start utilizing some of those fees to widen the section from Star Road to Canada to make it 2 lanes in both directions, because that's not currently funded in ITD's plan. So this is how this can work to help improve our highway network here in Star. All right. Savings. So this is where we are in our savings right now. In our savings and operating accounts, we have $7.7 million. Our park impact fee account, we have $2,088,000. And ITD proportionate share, we've collected $101,000. And we're actually getting ready to collect some big chunks of that because there are some final plats coming in. And then ARPA funds. Do you guys know what ARPA funds are? That's some of us call it funny money that the federal government's throwing out at everybody. The American Recovery, what is that called? American Recovery something Act. Planning Act? Oh, American Rescue Planning Act. That's what it is. Exactly. So the city of Star is allocated about $2.26 million to be paid out over 2 years. We've already received $1.1 million back in June, and we're expected to receive another $1.1 million next June timeframe. However, we haven't got the complete logistics on how that money can be spent here for us in the city of Star. So we're kind of like in a holding game and hopefully get that information here pretty quick, right? Can we use it on roadways? Can we use it on improving communications? Who knows? So we're trying to figure that out. But that gets to sit in an account right now until we get that information. Okay? So total that in our city of Star accounts right now is $11 million. Oh, let me click the right way. Revenue. So we're looking at doing it for property taxes this year, increasing our revenue for property taxes to $1.602 million. So I'm going to just read this little statement that I had on property taxes. So each year, or every year, each taxing district sets their budget using property taxes as a source of revenue for their district. For the 2021-22 budget year, Star's property tax revenue, this number here, the 1.6 million, is 12.68% of the total budget. House Bill 389 that was passed earlier this year, allows a taxing district to increase its taxing authority by a maximum of 8% through a combination of the 3% allowable increase that we're allowed to take and 90% of the new construction annexations that can make that up. If the city were to tax all taxpayers with a 3% increase, this would be passed on to each homeowner, business, and agricultural property on the tax rolls within the city, thus increasing the additional tax burden for all property owners. If we utilize the new construction and annexations as a source of the additional income, the current taxpayer will not see an increase in their taxes. Star has enough new construction that we are increasing the property tax levy by the 8% all through the new construction. We're not taking any of the 3%, or we can't even take all the new construction. When we go down to, I'm going to go right here real quick. So here's an example of a house in Stevens Springs. I got a couple examples on here. If you look on the current year valuation of $360,000, you take last year's homeowner's exemption of $100,000, the taxable value is $260,000. We got to remember, as a city, there are, I think, 11 taxing districts here that we all pay into. The city of Star is just one piece of that pie. And we're fourth down on the list on the total amount that was collected. So our levy rate last year was 0.001245592 of that $260,100 on this property, for a total tax of $323,000. If you look at this year's on this property, the valuation is $470,000. That went up quite a bit from the year prior, right? That's insane, right? The homeowner's exemption is $125,000, so the taxable value is $345,200. The beauty of House Bill 389 is it actually provides you with what your new levy rate is. And you can see our new levy rate went down. So the tax on this property with the city of Star taking $1.6 million through new construction is only $294.56. It actually went down by almost $30, right? The issue we're having in our town is when our valuations outpace the valuations of other parts of our county, we're getting hosed basically. Because all of these Ada County, countywide taxing districts, that burden is being shifted from those other properties onto us here. So we have a valuation challenge here in Star, and that's something that we continue to push with our legislators, that we need to get that fixed and corrected so we're all on the equal, right, throughout this county. If you look over here, I didn't put a value in for West Ada because there's bonds associated with that we didn't have to add into that number. And Star Fire also has a bond that was passed by the citizens of Star that are not added into their number as well. Here's another property here that I took up on Roselands, 386,200, 100,000. So their taxable value is 286,200. The city of Star's portion, they were paying 356,49. With the new portion here, what is that? I can't see that. $304,000. So it went down there as well, right? Oh, I'm sorry, $304. What did I say? Oh, I'm sorry, $304, not $304,000. $304. Again, you can see that we have a valuation challenge here. They went up almost $100,000. Part of our challenge also is our business property tax. And I think it was 2016 when the legislature changed the homeowner exemption process. It kind of changed the burden for residential property owners. So here, this is a Bi-Mart. Their valuation was $4.5 million this last year. This year, the valuation went down to $4.3 million. So there's a shift from the businesses to the residential on these properties. You can see they're going to go from $5,700 in property taxes to Star to 3,000 something over there to the city of Star. So that's a shift burden. And that's something, believe it or not, I read something today that Senator Rice out of Caldwell is actually looking at this valuation model for businesses. Businesses valuations are based on market value for the property and then I think it's a sales model for how much they sold for the year prior. So it's kind of a weird deal versus ours is based on market value as a residential landowner. Here's another one, the El Mariachi Loco restaurant. You know, they went from $870 to $740. And you can see that their property taxes are going to decrease on there quite a bit as well. Okay. All right. Oh, and let's go back here to, on this page here, we have foregone. So what is foregone? And that's a relatively new term for a lot of people in our community. We as a city over the years have been very fiscally responsible and continue to be. We have $663,000 of available taxes that we have never taken as a city, okay? That means that we didn't do the 3% increase, or we didn't do the new constructions or the annexations over a period of time. That to me is a scary number.
Mayor Chadwick,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to point out that that's an annual number. So
Right.
it's not a total of 663,000. It's something that we forego every year.
Right, that we don't ever add to our property tax value, okay, our property tax rolls. That's a scary number, because if you saw what Ada County Highway District, are you guys familiar with what they did? We're trying to do here by increasing, taking all their foregone. Here's the thing, the city, House Bill 389, there's an intent. The intent of House Bill 389 is to limit the growth to 8% on your property taxes, but also limit the ability to take your foregone. However, there was a loophole in there that someone discovered, and some agencies are trying to push taking all their foregone because they're not going to be able to collect it, but 1% at a time each year. I have a different opinion of it. Even though I don't agree with necessarily all of House Bill 389, the spirit of the law is the spirit of the law, and you need to protect that, right? So we could have come in here this year and taken all $663,000, but that would have been a tax added to everybody in here. You would have seen it go up. I mean, look at it, about probably 40% easily, right? And that's a problem, okay? So we have foregone balance in there. We can collect it up to 1% per year or up to 3% per year if it's for a capital improvement that would eventually come off, okay? Oh, wrong way, sorry, my apologies. So let's look at revenue sharing. Revenue sharing is a product of the state from our sales tax. We expect to receive $1 million from the state revenue sharing fund. It's a 53% increase from the year before. That formula is based off of your population, and things adjusted this last year, because when that number came out to us, we get these numbers. I had to have them go look at that, because that was a shocker, I think, to all of us to see us go from $600,000 in revenue sharing to nearly $1 million in revenue sharing, right? And so that's all based off of sales tax. It's 11% of the sales tax revenue comes back to the cities and counties and split amongst them based on populations, okay? We also get liquor revenue. So for the revenue that from all the liquor sales, and we had a lot of them last year, you know, during COVID year, you know, everybody said that there was a lot of liquor running out of those stores. We do get a percentage of that as well as a city, and that's gone up, that's gone up 26.52% from the year prior to 118,071. And then we also collect franchise fees. Franchise fees from Idaho Power, Intermountain Gas, Cable One, which is also Sparklight, and Republic Services. We collect, let me go back here real quick so I can tell you exactly how much we get from each of those services. By state statute, you're allowed to collect up to 3% from those services unless you have a previous agreement in place. Give me just a second here. Well, so one of them, so I think Republic Services, we collect 8%. So that's outside that standard 3%. So we get an 8% revenue share from them. And I think 1, 2, and 3% from the other entities there. Page 7. Oh, I guess I could use my own table of contents, right? Thank you. So we have 4 franchise fees in place. We're collecting 1% from Idaho Power, 2% from Cable One, 3% from Intermountain Gas, and 8% from Republic Services. So those are our reliable incomes. And this is a chart right here that you can see that kind of shows you the change in growth in all of those over the last 4 years to give you some idea. Here, ACHD impact fees. So this year we had, I believe it was I can't remember, 508 in mid-July, new housing starts, new permits. We're on track to hit about 750 to 800 new housing starts this year. So ACH impact fee, we're going to base that off of 500 for this next year. We're not sure what the market's going to do. The market is crazy, we know. However, there's a big supply challenge right now in everything, really. I mean, not just in construction, but in a lot of different areas. So that impact fee number that I gave you earlier times 500 gives you that 1.7 million. Star Park impact fee, same thing, 500 housing starts with a $2,050 fee. Star Fire impact fee, 809 times 500. And the CHD impact fee, this is a filler. It's just a holder right now until we determine what those impact fees are going to be so we can accurately put a number in there, okay? And then on ITDs, approved proportionate shares. This slide right here shows you the developments and what ITD determined was their proportionate share that we are collecting for those improvements here in Star on the state highways. So you can see right there, we have $2.2 million committed to that fund already. And we collected $101,000 from these three projects. That $3,000 for Trapper Ridge is kind of low. That was at the very beginning before we even got to this proportionate share. That was an amount that we saw and we got them to agree to pay and they paid it, right? American Falls, their proportionate share, this is actually an ad. They didn't have a proportionate share agreed upon when they first got that development, but they wanted to make some changes. So we went in there and required a proportionate share to be included, which was $88,000 on that from ITD. So we've collected those fees. So this is a good thing for us to get some improvements on our state highways when there's not funding available right now, you know, through the state, through other means. And then here's our building fees, electrical fees, plumbing fees, mechanical fees. Our land use fees are the costs associated with let me start that over. Those are the costs or the fees collected associated with the applications that are turned in to the city. And then we have bonding. So anytime a project is not able to complete their lights or their landscaping or whatnot because of weather, they're required to supply a bond to the city. So, and just in case they decide not to do it, we can go after their bond and complete it. And that bond is 150% of the cost of their project, of that landscaping or the lights or whatever. That number is going to fluctuate because we don't know what we're going to be getting in bonds each year, right? I mean, that's a hard number to dictate at that time. And then we have general licensing fees, which are dog licenses, vendor licenses, alcohol beverage licenses, park reservations, facility rentals, interest revenue, and donations. Our goal eventually is to get our dog license number up to a number that covers our dog expense for having animal control. That's about 14,000, I think, and we'll talk about that here in just a little bit. So we're quite a ways away from that. I mean, there's two reasons, in my opinion, that we need to get everybody to license their pets. Number one, I've seen plenty of dogs that seem to go missing on Facebook. And if they had a license on there, it'd be easy to get them back to those folks, right? And two, we want to make sure that those costs offset each other. Our vendors licenses, every time that we have, like the SWIBDA has their Saturday markets and whatnot. Anytime a vendor comes and gets a license, they pay a fee that goes into this. Alcohol beverage licenses, these are fees that are provided that any business that sells beer, wine, or hard liquor has to pay in order to have their license with the city every year, okay? And that license, those fees are established by the state. So we collect about $7,000 a year for that right now. Now, when we finally get our census from 2020, we'll probably see an increase in the number of hard alcohol licensed facilities that we can have in the city of Star. And so that number may go up if people go try to get those. Park reservations, that's renting out Hunters Creek Park and Blake Park. And I think West Valley is the biggest portion of that. West Valley Little League rents out Hunters Creek Park in the spring and the fall. Facility rentals, this is relatively new for us with bringing on the Star River House. We have a huge demand of folks that want to use that facility. which is awesome. You know, we have had weddings, we've had business meetings, you know, we've had SWIBDA do stuff out there, we've had the chamber do stuff out there. It's awesome to see people utilize that facility, and that's part of the reason we put it together. And then interest revenue through our accounts, the interest we get and donations we receive. And we've been very lucky with the donations that we received over this last year. We had one organization go out and really push to help us get money donated to buy life preserver stations to go at all the ponds that we have in our city. So, you know, trying to find a way to help keep some of our kids safe as much as we can. And then we have park grants, transportation planning grant, ARPA funds that we talked about in the hometown celebration for revenue. So the park grants, we've actually gone out and asked for 4 grants. We're waiting for some answers on. Some of them are to pave and look at a study to pave the Star River Walk somehow so it's accessible by everybody. We have one that's trying to get sidewalks completed on Floating Feather for a safe route to the middle school. We have one looking at a connecting downtown with all of our sidewalks down here on Highway 44. And we have one looking at a downtown parking area, not a structure, but a facility for people to park. Because eventually ITD is going to widen this, or not really widen it, but stay within the confines of the sidewalk, which will take away any of the on-street parking down here on Highway 44. And then the hometown celebration this year, for the first time, we were able to get over $45,000 in donations to pay for the entire celebration, which was awesome, right? It's just a matter of going out and asking folks for that. So we're going to continue that avenue so we could have a great celebration and it doesn't cost us as a taxpayer a dime. I like that idea. And then we have our sports and recreation programming. Our sports fees are $62,000 and our recreation fees about $35,000. When we talk sports fees, we're talking like our baseball program, softball, lacrosse. I know we did some rugby. You know, we kind of did a little bit of everything in sports. And we kept our kids active this last year, which I think is awesome. With the mental health issues we've had, that's been awesome. And we think that's going to grow even more this year. Our recreation fees, since we have the River House on board now, Miss Kim has an opportunity to do a lot of things down there. I mean, she's had a ton of camps this summer. For kids, you know, fit and fall classes, yoga, you know, things that I probably should be doing myself, but I don't, right, on there. So we have a lot of opportunity for our city. So that's the revenue coming from those programs. Then we have court fines, scholarships, miscellaneous, general funds, transfer from our park impact fee. So anytime we have money sitting like we showed you up here, sitting in that account, we want to pull it over for our parks or transfer from ITD, we have to add that on here as well. So for our fiscal year 2021, 2022, our budget's going to be $12,627,273. Currently, we're at like 10 million. Michael, what's that number? 10 million what on revenue currently through?
$10,325,073.11 through close of business today.
Yep. And remember, we had a budget last year of $6 million and we have 10 million in revenue coming in through any one of those sources right there. Okay. That's incredible. Expenses. We talk about law enforcement being our number one expense, right? We want to make sure in mine and the council's minds, the number one thing, even before it's any of us, is to make sure that our level of service doesn't ever go down, even if the economy goes down, right? Because in my opinion, that's the time when the economy starts tanking, that's when you need the services even more because you have more challenges and things like that in your families. So we're proposing this year to add 2 new deputies and 1 full-time admin on there. And give me just a second here. Let me get to my page here. What page? 20? Damn it, you guys are too fast. You follow along. I'm just talking, you guys follow along, that's good. Okay. So our police office right now, if you look at our calls for service, they have increased in every year for the past 3 calendar years, excluding 2021, because we don't have the data for this year yet. In 2018, our 6 patrol deputies responded to 5,658 calls for service for an average of 943 calls per deputy per year. In 2019, the response to 8,092 calls for average calls per deputy per year of 1,348. In 2020, 6 deputies responded to 9,157 calls for an average of 1,526 per deputy. So you look at that number and how much that's increased over the 3 years, it's become necessary for us to make certain that we have the adequate services here for our city. In 2017, the FBI crime statistics looks at the number of sworn in officers per 1,000 inhabitants nationwide, an average of 2.4. With the current population estimate from Compass of 13,400 people, we are at about 0.597. However, our calls for service are a little bit different than what a lot of these cities are, right? We don't have quite the problem. The beauty of our contract model with Ada County Sheriff is we have the entire sheriff's office at our disposal if we ever have an issue at no additional cost to us as a citizen. So if we have a situation where we have a hostage situation, or let's say an unfortunate murder or whatever, we have the entire office at our disposal to help take care of that situation, which is great. The full-time admin, we want to add a full-time admin so we actually have somebody here that can take calls from our citizens and get to our deputies quicker, right? Versus having to do a call in. I think that's important to make sure that we're servicing our people here locally if they have a challenge or an issue, okay? With this number though, we're going to have to make some adjustments because the 1.459 million was a preliminary number and we got our final number from Ada County. And after Ada County approved their budget, it's 1.518 million. So we're going to have to make some adjustments on our budget next week when we discuss that. Okay. Then we have the executive payroll. And the one thing here that you all are here about is we are looking at making our mayor full-time with a salary of $85,000. Our council payroll is $57,600 and our administrative assistant, which is part of that, is $46,275. The payroll for the clerk's office, which is 3 clerks, we're going to add a clerk, is $193,522. Our planning and zoning department with 4 people is $235,967. Our recreation department has 3 folks at $145,743. And our buildings and grounds, we need to add another grounds person, which would be $170,498 total. We are adding another park, which is the, actually, we're going to be adding 2 parks. We do have the park for the dog park that's being worked on. And then we're going to have the Star River House Park, whatever we're going to call that park down there with the 2 big ponds and stuff. And then you can see the other costs associated with these employees between FICA, workman's comp, public retirement, and health insurance. Here's an updated City of Star organizational chart. We have never had one of these on our city website until last year. When I got elected, I put one in here, and this is an updated one showing you with all the added positions, including our deputies over there. So this is, I think this is, Dana, is this on our website, right? This updated one? Yeah. So this one's on our website if you want to go look at that and blow it up and see it better. Expenses. So we have legal professional services and ICRIMP. So Ada County Prosecutor has not raised their fees. We pay $30,900 each year to Ada County Prosecutor. Since we're in Canyon County, we are negotiating a contract with them. We do not know what that amount is going to be. We won't know until sometime in October. So we have a $15,000 hold place right now because we don't anticipate a lot of, I don't think, unless Chief knows otherwise, prosecuting services coming out of the Ada County side. We pay our city attorney $45,000. Then we also have $45,000 for additional legal help. And then Keller Associates is our city engineer at $85,000. We have IT with our computer consulting at $20,000. And then ICRIMP, which is our city's insurance for different liabilities and stuff, we pay about $12,000 a year for that. In our parks development, this is where park impact fees are going to come into place. We have the Blake Haven Park improvements, the Pavilion Dog Park improvements. Those 2 improvements right now, these are things that we approved this year that are going to roll into next year, right here, just so you're aware, because they're not going to be done before the end of the fiscal year. So we'll see that number fluctuate there. Hunters Creek Park, we're putting a playground in over there. It's about $250,000. We had a group of kids and parents come in and give us some designs, and we'll be finally acting on those designs to get that playground equipment in over at Hunters Creek Park. The Star River House ponds, we have about 1.5 million. We're gonna put in into the development of that area with pathways, boat ramps, beaches, picnic areas, things like that at that park over there. And then the Trident Ridge pathways, there is property, I think it's 51 acres, 59 acres, 52 acres. As part of the Trident Ridge development that we did a couple years ago, that they are providing us with the land for natural pathways and stuff like that, so we could do some hikes and whatnot up in the foothills. With that, I believe they are providing us with $60,000 in cost to help with the building of a pedestrian bridge across that canal over there as well. So professional dues, well, we are at $35,767 in professional dues. Let me talk about that just a little bit. So we are part of an organization called Western Alliance for Economic Development. We have Ada County Emergency Management, Association of Idaho Cities, Boise Valley Economic Partnership, Compass. Were you guys listening or watch online about Compass last meeting when they have a tool that they put in place for us to use to help determine if a development will pay for itself over a period of time? That's an important one to be with. We have AIC Clerks, American Planning Council, International Code, Treasure Valley Partnership, Valley Regional Transit. This is just simply for us to have a seat at the table. It's not for us to pay for a bus because we didn't have ridership here in Star. We only had 6 riders for like $6,000 that we were funding on that. So we chose to pull out of that until they can get ridership up. Boise Chamber of Commerce, Star Chamber of Commerce, Idaho Nursery Association, Recreation Today for playground inspections. Believe it or not, that's a requirement that we have to be part of an organization so we can get our playground equipment inspected. That's over at Blake. Arbor Association, Southwest Idaho Business Alliance, and Idaho Parks and Recreation. So those are our professional dues. In our committees, we have some very active committees. We have our Activities Committee, which is the one that put together the hometown celebration. And they do more than that. I mean, they do our Christmas celebration that we do. Last year, we didn't have the Halloween thing, but I think we're going to have some Halloween stuff. Hopefully, we'll have some Halloween stuff this year. We also have our our Parks and Art and Beautification Committee. You'll see them out there all the time doing great work on cleaning up our city and coming up with ideas and ways to improve our city. We have the Transportation and Pathways Committee. We put together some great planning with that committee, with our master transportation plan, working with ACHU to try to get some of those impact fees dedicated to the city of Star. And we have our Mayor's Youth Council that's been way active this year. And they collected a ton of money during the hometown celebration this year, which is awesome. And those guys are our future leaders. So that's great. We did put together a new committee, Star Historical Committee. It is very important to me and to others to make certain that we're able to retain our history in our town. We're starting to lose some of the folks that helped put this town together. We have Jack Kirtley. The Kirtley family's been around in Star for over 100 years, right? So he's very involved with this committee, and so it's great to get some of this stuff put together. We're going to do some video recordings. We're collecting information, talking to folks, looking at some of these old houses and the walls and see what we got in there, right? For that committee. And then we're going to bring back the Impact Fee Committee this fall to review our capital improvement plans for our parks and look at seeing what we want to do. With our Transportation Committee, we're looking at a master pathways plan for the entire city of Star that will also be part of Eagle and part of Middleton. So we get from the east side of Eagle to the west side of Middleton here in the future. And part of our goal is to get all this capital improvement stuff in place for that committee so we can bring it to our impact fee committee and see if we can include that into our park impact fees and make it park impact fees and pathways. There is a desire for many to also have a recreation center here in Star. Part of our goal is to get that included into our impact fees, so we can pay for it through growth instead of paying for it through a bond, because that's what it's going to take. And property taxes, no one likes, right? So the last thing we want to do is add a bond if we don't have to. Okay? Our expenses on our building side, so our building inspector gets, per the contract that's been in place, gets 40% of the first 100,000 and 25% of the other dollars above that as part of their fee. Our electrical, plumbing, and mechanical inspectors, they get 60% of the fees, and the other 40% stays with the city. We talked about this a little bit, the pass-throughs, Star impact fee. If you look at this, the 394, 500,000 is minus the $20 per 500 permits, you know, if you look at the income side. Sports and recreation, we do our best to try to get that to fund itself, and it does a pretty good job of that. Ron and Kim do a great job of looking for ways at saving money while providing a great experience. Eventually, someday, we hope to have all their salaries paid for through this as well, right? So that'd be a great way for us. Planning, we're planning on similar to what we did the south of the river plan this year, which should be coming up here in the, when are we doing the public hearing for that? 1st of September? So I think the 1st of September, we're going to do the public hearing on the plan we have for the south of the river. We're going to do something similar, what we're calling the West Star Land Use Planning, which is the properties west of Canada Road. With all the development pressure that's going on and with several builders that are buying up all that property, it's important for us to get ahead of that game, just like south of the river, right? Plan it for what we want to see it as a city versus a hodgepodge of stuff going through there, right? And then with that, we got a transportation plan that we're going to plan in that west of the Star land use area. Buildings and grounds. So buildings and grounds, let me get to my little pages for that. I was right there. So buildings and grounds. The budget for the buildings and grounds section remained relatively flat for 2021, 2022. As you guys have seen, Hunters Creek Park has had some serious challenges with greenery, right, with our grass. We've had challenges. When we got the fiber grant last year, it was like 370,000 grant. We discovered when the water came on that they went right through a main water line over there with the fiber line, and it created all sorts of challenges for us. And so we can never catch up and compass with this incredible heat we've had over the last, it seems like forever, but 2 months, right? It's made it very hard for us to catch up on that. We have reduced the following line items on the budget for this department: the hand tools, power tools, nuts, bolts, screws, and we reduced the uniform budget by half. The building and maintenance crew, we're going to add one additional staff member on that. We did have a challenge with, sorry, I keep getting the stink eye because I don't talk in the microphone real good. So we did have a challenge at Blake Park with some heavy vandalism to our restroom toilet partitions in there. But we've redesigned that so with a better product that's almost impossible to destroy. But you know, kids can do whatever they want. But this is really a good product out there that we have. So you can see equipment, we're at 13.2, tools, we're at 15, repair, uniform, and landscaping. Those are our fees that we're going to be spending. Capital expenses, $12,000 on equipment and $90,426 in general. So on the general, when we're talking about expenses there, we are bringing in a new software package for our finances called Black Mountain. Oh, by the way, since everybody's in here, Mr. Jacob Qualls right here is our city clerk that we hired back in March. And he comes highly recommended after I hired him. I was surprised at all the people that in the state that said, I can't believe you got Jacob with you, which is fantastic. He's the one that's talking about the Black Mountain software and how much it's going to benefit us as a city overall to be able to track our finances and stuff a lot better and our inventory. Because I know we've talked about that in the past and because we've had issues with companies wanting to charge so much money to track our inventory for our building department. And we're also doing what else with that? That's Black Mountain and let me see here. Oh, MuniCode.
New website.
A new website that's going to be more interactive and a lot more user friendly for our agendas, adding items to it,
Transparency. So
transparency.
as citizens, you should be able to tab into our financials and look at them in charts and graphs and
Right.
numbers and words, however you look at them.
So everything will be right there in front of everybody's face for everybody to look at. That's our whole goal, right? On there. So in conclusion, STAR has been and remains fiscally conservative. We have zero debt as a city. We have our healthily balance in our savings. And our goal is to have police paid for by 100% of our property taxes, including our 2 additional deputies. And just a reminder, that only 12% of our revenue is from property taxes. Our parks are paid with our impact fees and not our taxes. Well, let's, I'm going to back up on that. Our park improvements and development are part with impact fees. Our maintenance is still paid for with the taxes because we have to have people to maintain that, okay? And we've done things and we continue to look for ways to help our city grow by doing different things like the first of its kind proportionate share agreement, by working with Kenyon Highway District 4 to create impact fees. I'm meeting with every single one of these agencies in this valley that impact STAR. And I think we've had 3 meetings so far with different ones, including I'm meeting with Idaho Power and Intermountain Gas to find out what can we do to help improve everything in our city, right? But also the growth that we're seeing, can it sustain itself, right? That's a concern, right? But so far, even with West Ada School District, we're trying to find out a unique way to try to get the development to pay for some of the schools, right? We're looking at that. It's nothing new. Everybody's been trying to find that tool because we can't get it quite yet from the legislature. We're trying to get that this year, hopefully. So with that said, what we're going to do, give me just a few minutes. We'll get the sheets up here for people to talk to that. We'll have Mr. Jacob is going to do, he'll be our timer on that. And then we'll have you testify. If you have questions, well, the council may try to answer some of your questions. They can do that, but they may wait and we could do a master list of all the questions that are being asked, and then we can get out answers on those questions here hopefully by Friday and post that online. Okay, so it's all out there for everybody to hear. So, all right. So if we want to take a few minute break here, come back in here about 8:10, we'll get that other part going. Okay, we're going to call this meeting back to order. It looks like it's 8:12, and we're going to start with our public testimony here. 3 minutes limit for the public testimony. There are quite a few that signed up. I'm going to tell you right now, this is awesome to have this many people here. We typically get 4 or 5, right? So I'm just going to say this. If the mayor's salary is what brought you here, good, because I want you here. I want everybody to participate because this is the city. This is all of our budget, right? So if those of you that are online, I hope that you write in here in the next week and provide some written testimony as well. So, okay, with that said, I'm just going to start at the top of the list and we're just going to go down. When you come up here, you need to state your name and address, please, for the record. Mr. Jacob over here will tell you, I don't know what you're going to tell them when they get close to 3 or get out of here or something. Okay. Make sure you please speak into the mic so everybody can hear you, even online. Okay, Mr. Reed Blackburn.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Reed Blackburn. I live at 934 North Cruz Avenue here in Star. And I just want to say that I'm proud to have been a Star resident for the past 4 years, and I'm also a lifelong Idaho native. So I want to offer my full support for our city council's proposal to extend a full-time role to Mayor Chadwick based on the salary increase that goes with it. Last year at the onset of the COVID pandemic, my family launched our local business and had an opportunity to work closely with the city for several months on a project that allowed me to see Mayor Chadwick's vision, leadership, and negotiation skills firsthand. And to be clear, I didn't know anyone from the city prior to this. While many cities are encumbered with political strife and lack of unity, it was immediately evident that his entire staff and the city council not only support him, but place great trust in him. And if you've ever taken the time to get to know Trevor personally, you guys know that the guy is diabolically opposed to inactivity. On more than one occasion, I've seen his bright green Jeep at the city offices at 5 a.m. attending to city matters, at least that's what I think he's doing, so as not to conflict with his private sector job. Really, how many of us can pull this kind of a schedule over a period of years and at a part-time wage, not really acceptable by any modern business standards? I didn't even realize it until a week ago that he even brings an MBA to the role, which to me is of itself worthy of consideration. Under his leadership and creative vision, we've witnessed some pretty incredible things like the new River House, the South of the River Plan, the architectural overlay for the new Central Business District, and all of this and more while working with new businesses to fund this growth. We've seen exponential residential growth like others, but I'm especially proud of his patriotic bravery to making Star the first 2A sanctuary city in the state and keeping our businesses open and operating in the midst of the pandemic that crushed so many other towns. Sure, he knew the salary constraints when he ran for the position, but does anyone actually believe that Star is even remotely what it was economically even just a few years ago? Is it possible that with all this exponential growth, the role has become far more demanding than before? I think it is, and I think it's time to match Mayor Chadwick's investment in our community and watch the great results that continue to unfold. Thank you.
Thank you. Was that under 3 minutes?
Just shy of a minute.
Were you hoping he had more?
Well, no, I'm just like, wow, it seemed like I thought it was going on forever myself, but okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Reed. Okay. Mr. Dan Michaels.
Bear with me.
Oh, hang on, sir, just real quick.
New timer.
Make sure that he's ready to go.
There we go.
Okay,
Okay, go ahead,
my
sir.
name is Dan Michaels. I'm at 12080 Foxhaven Street, Star. This is going to seem like an hour if the last one seemed like. So your budget discussion was all about being fiscally responsible and fair, and I applaud that. We count on our city leadership to do their due diligence in order to make their decisions that are fiscally responsible, using all the best data sources that we can get hold of. In doing so, the leaders can justify their decisions, even if they're unpopular decisions, so taxpayers know that the right choices were made. Compensation is always a touchy subject. Salary among peers is heavily scrutinized in any work environment, no more so than in government compensation. That's taxpayer funded. We count on our city leaders to use statistically significant data to arrive at an equitable compensation package as a means of justifying compensation package to all the stakeholders involved, be it employees or taxpayers. Statistically significant data for all Idaho cities is not hard to come by. It's on the internet. Quick snapshot shows the following. The average mayoral salary for all cities in Idaho with a population between 12,000 and 32,000 people is $47,000 a year. For the top 10 cities in population in all of Idaho, it includes Boise, Meridian, Nampa, Idaho Falls, Caldwell, Pocatello, Coeur d'Alene, Twin Falls, Post Falls, and Lewiston. Top 10 cities in population, average mayoral salary is $65,323. If we go and take the 80th percentile, that means 80% of the top 10 highest mayoral salaries in all of Idaho. That 80th percentile is $73,550. Raising the Star mayor salary to $73,550 a year would put our mayor in the 80th percentile of the top 10 highest paid mayors in Idaho. Raising to 85,000, raising to 85,000, or the previously proposed 100,000 would, in my opinion, just be poor management and poor leadership. Should we choose to escalate the Star mayor's salary so far beyond what's all the best decision-making data and the data here tells us we're just exhibiting poor city leadership and we're being irresponsible with taxpayer money. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor Chadwick,
Councilman Nielsen,
I have some questions.
for Mr. Dan.
Yes.
Mr. Dan, can you come up here and stand for questions from Councilman Nielsen, please?
I appreciate somebody who's looking for a data-driven decision.
Yeah.
If you've attended many of these meetings, you'll hear, that's a phrase that comes out of my mouth a lot. So I'm curious, in the statistics that you've obviously researched, what is the correlation between population and mayor salary?
So the correlation, if we just take a few of, take a couple of examples, Coeur d'Alene, 52,000 people, $32,400 annual salary.
Right.
That's on a very low side, obviously. Caldwell, 56,000. Caldwell just got into one of these big round robins with their taxpayers. They did raise to 82,000. So if you get down into something that's a little bit more comparable and you say, hey, Star's going to grow to 25,000 people. You look at Rexburg, 29,000 people. They're at 76.4. Eagle, that's pretty good barometer right there. Eagle is 27,000 and their mayor is making 72,000.
So if you take those values and actually plug them into a statistical analysis, you actually don't even get an R-squared value that is statistically meaningful. There is no correlation between population and salary.
There's
in
not
Idaho.
a lot of correlation between population and salary. Yeah, you're right. Some of
So-
them are ridiculous. Hayden is 14,750 people. It's $15,000 of salary.
Yeah, and I just want you to know that I mean, data is my profession, so I'm very
Mine
familiar.
too.
Excellent. So I'm really familiar with how to,
So
Yeah.
you two can go out to dinner and have
Yeah,
a great.
yeah.
So the old saying, there are lies, there are damn lies, and then there's statistics.
right. And I've tried really hard to find statistical correlation in Idaho among peer groups for salaries, and there just isn't. The closest thing that you can get to is what do you find in the mayor's position? What are the job duties? And look in the private sector, and $85,000 is about 50% of what an executive with the job duties is at. So that's
Just to
where,
private industry.
well, tell me the difference between the jobs.
I have no difference between the jobs other than in private industry, I have to have a background and I have to have a resume that's commensurate with the job. For this job,
You can have all the background and resume that you want, but then you still have to do the job.
exactly.
And so when you get somebody in there that's doing the job, the background and resume have very little to do with that. It's rubber meets the road,
Sure.
right? So I just want you to know that I know for myself, and I know lots of others up here, we have done a lot of due diligence in looking around to arrive at the number that we've had. And I'd really like for you to bring me some correlated statistics and something that we can hang our hat on that
I
says,
crunch those numbers by tomorrow.
So put that, do me a
Well-
favor. So
go find those correlations.
I will.
this is why you don't argue with statisticians, right?
Right,
It could drive the rest of us nuts.
right.
However, put those correlations together and write it up and send it in to Mr. Qual.
So he's already got a copy of this and
Okay.
I'll do another sheet for you. No problem.
Thank you. Okay. All right, let's move down the list here. Miss Ashley Freeman.
Hello.
Hi, Miss Ashley.
Hello. I'm Ashley Freeman. I live at 12339 West Fox Haven Street in Star. Been here for 15 years. So kind of the same things that I'm not going to repeat, but I'm going to probably say the same things. I had the same concerns about the salary along with the population. I did do a little bit more on the correlation because obviously there isn't a lot of correlation, but there is another factor in there, which also goes into the factor of how many city employees are you managing, which Boise, there's about 1,700 employees. Meridian has about 534 city employees. Pocatello has about 534 as well. Caldwell 238, Nampa 652, Rexburg 120. I was not able to get the information from Eagle. CUNA has 62.
85, just so you're aware.
85, thank you.
You're welcome.
Blackfoot, and this also, I would like to say, Trevor, I think you're a wonderful mayor, and this has nothing to say about the job that you're doing. So
I get it.
I
I'm
do not want to,
That's what this process is for.
absolutely.
Right.
So I think kind of the same thing is in the city, when we're looking at a growing city, should we be focusing on growing our city employees and making a stronger city? One of the things that I do look at super hard if in the future, when we have a new mayor, if there is some problem with them not dealing with their funds correctly or there's some corruption in the system, it's really hard to get rid of a politician. We have to wait 4 years to either vote them out or we have to go through a recall election. If we have employees, the mayor is able to fire them. They can get rid of them. We can't do that with a politician. So I think it's extremely important for the mayor to be able to hold and be the voice of the people, while the employees, like our new city clerk, they can manage the business of the city and they can do those things that need to be done. And this is a great opportunity because we're strong to be able to grow our employees and offer stronger wages. I've worked many, many years with Ron Weston. And he's making $54,000, $58,000 a year. If we're talking about, the mayor going to full-time needing $85,000 a year, we really should be looking at, maybe we need to look at Ron Weston, who's been with the city for many, many years, making more because of the growth and how much it costs now for cost of living. So that's one of the things I would like to put into consideration on that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor Chadwick. Ashley, I'm not going to bore you.
Kevin, are we?
All with statistics. all
Councilman
night.
Nilsson.
I do want to talk about correlations though,
Go ahead.
because
You will beat me on statistics.
Well,
I will
I'm
tell
not
you that
sure.
one right there.
I'm trying to understand
Mhm.
and I'm trying to also make sure that the conversation, as we talk about the correlation of the number of employees, when you've got over 3,000 employees in the city of Boise and just a handful here in the city of Star, if we're going to draw a correlation on that, and let's say use Star's mayor as a baseline, and I don't do math,
Mhm.
right? Calculators do math, but if you take his baseline salary at part-time of $40,000 and then the number of employees in Boise, over 3,500, you extrapolate that out, the Boise mayor then should be making nearly $1 million a year.
Well, I mean, I guess I'm just saying, but they also have directors. They also have people who are in charge and they're in charge. So you asked earlier about what does a CEO or an executive of a company make, right? That executive of HP isn't running every one of those employees who work the help desk, right? They have directors who work under, but they are managing the directors of the directors. The mayor is going to manage the directors of the directors. My thing is if we're in a strong position to where we can start affording to pay our mayor what, the 80th percentile of Idaho for mayors, we should start looking at making our city employees stronger. We should start expanding that employment opportunity to a place where we can withstand and bring in that employment opportunity.
And I think I agree with that statement actually. And I think Star will eventually get to that point as well. Trevor mentioned earlier in his presentation that our goal is to get reliable income and required expenses. That ratio should be as close to 1-to-1 as possible. In other words, zero difference. And that's really the most important part of our budget. As you add salaries, that equation gets harder and harder to manage. And so what we're looking at here is we've got a mayor who is doing all of those roles right now, even at part-time. I mean, he's part-time pay. He's working full-time hours, and he has been for well over a year. But he's doing all of those roles, and he's managing more numbers of staff than a lot of these other mayors manage, precisely because of what you talked about. So I'm trying to look at why, what we're doing here is a really good deal. Instead of spending over $250,000 and adding new employees and making that ratio go out of bounds, balance.
I think it's
What
pretty.
we're doing is we're keeping it balanced.
I think it's pretty unprecedented. And like I said before, there's another part about trying to maintain the, not have a corruption. Like I said, it's easy.
Is there corruption?
I don't know. I'm not saying Chadwick or Mayor Chadwick is corrupt by no means. I have a great relationship with Mayor Chadwick. I appreciate him. I voted for him. I voted for many of you over here. What I'm trying to say is your job is to speak for the people, and the city employees are to do the business of the city. To have your hands in all of those avenues only creates questions, and it doesn't create transparency. If there are problems or there is mishandling of funds, you can hold them, you can hold a city employee accountable. We cannot do that with a political, we cannot put that with somebody who we voted in.
I would beg to
So-
differ. If there's corruption.
It's very difficult, and
Then-
we've seen that in many
That's
recalls.
that's a legal matter, Ashley.
Right.
Yes, I understand,
good?
but that's very
And
difficult.
then
Thank
people go
you.
to jail.
No,
Thank you.
thank you, Miss Ashley.
I appreciate
Okay.
it.
All right. What?
Miss Ashley, at some point, would you come see me in my office? Just call somebody.
Or just walk in. Okay, Miss Teresa Tinsley. Hey, we love Teresa.
Can you see me?
Yes, ma'am, you're good.
Teresa Tinsley, 10459 West Achillea here in Star. I just have a couple of concerns. I saw by the budget that we weren't going to get a code enforcement officer.
Can you, there we go. Thank you.
Okay,
Because Jennifer won't be able to hear you either on the other side.
sorry, Jennifer.
There we go.
Okay. I see we don't have a code enforcement officer again this year. And this is my concern. Coming into town from the east, we have our Representative Moyles property. That is a trash heap of old equipment, weeds, and derelict buildings. On the other side, we have Heron River with the weeds in front of their property. Can't we get this taken care of? I've brought this up before. And I just want people that come into our city to know that Star has pride in their city. And by seeing what they see, I don't see how they could think that we have pride.
Can I answer those two real quick for you?
Absolutely.
So Mike Moyle's property is not in the city of Star. It's in the county.
Oh, it's
The
not.
only piece that's in the city is over there at Republic Storage and the piece that's along Highway 16. Okay?
He's never annexed
He's
it.
never annexed his property in. So we can't code enforce that one anyway.
Okay,
The issue with the weeds along Highway 44 in front of Heron River, that's an ITD thing. And we try to get IT to come out here and mow that on more than one occasion. Right, you know where the ditch is? That's what you're talking, that's what you're referencing? Yeah, so anything that's
So-
along there in the greenery for Heron River is ITD. And that's a challenge with getting them to come out here with their mower, and we continuously try to beat them up a little bit about that.
okay, ITD goes all the way to the greenery of Heron River, goes
Correct.
through the ditch.
Yes, they have that right away.
Okay.
They have 80
Well, I'll
feet.
make a little
So
phone call.
ITD has 80 feet right away from the center of the road on both sides of the road.
Okay,
So just so you're aware with that.
okay.
Okay.
Well, I will make a little phone
So
call.
I will give you a phone number for ITD and I will give you Mike Moyle's number.
Please. You know, I would love that.
I know you would.
You know I would. Okay, I just have one other question.
Okay.
The building inspector
Mhm.
job, do you put that job out for bid every year?
No, it's not out for bid every year. It's a contract that is it a perpetual contract? Is that what, how do you reference that?
It's either annually renewable automatically,
Yeah.
Or it's just perpetual until it's terminated by either party, which is typical of most of the independent contractor agreements that the city has, is they're just ongoing. Doesn't mean they aren't being reviewed. And they typically can be terminated with 30 or 60 days notice. So they aren't necessarily always a year
So-
going forward.
Let me answer where you're going with this. So we are actually already in the process of looking at bringing that possibly in-house, just by itself, right? Because of the amount of money that we see, there's two things about that. If we bring it in-house, then we have added staff on payroll in times when we have low development, right? When we had the slowdown back in 2008 to 12, we would be paying for that salary unless we change it back to a contract or reduce their hours, right? The contract model works well in some instances, but not well in other instances, right? So we're investigating all of this right now as we speak. We actually had a conversation with our inspector here in the last few weeks about that very thing on there. So I think that's where you're going with that a little bit too.
Well, does he have anyone to help him? Or does he do this
Well,
all
it's
by
Whitman and
himself?
Associates, so he's responsible for doing his job. Whether he needs to bring in others on his dime, that's on him.
Yeah, well,
But,
I understand that.
Yeah.
Well, that's an awful lot of money.
It is a lot, and that's why we're investigating this other option right now.
Okay. Okay, I just have one other thing, and I want to thank the mayor and the city council for this budget. I went over it and it's easy to follow, answered most of my questions, and very transparent. And I do appreciate all of the hard work that you guys have done. So,
And you're welcome. And actually, I think about you when we do this, to be honest
I
with
was
you.
sure you did.
Because
Because you're one of the
this is Miss
four.
Teresa. You've never met her yet. So you need to go to her house later. And so you feel the love in this city hall, which is
do.
fantastic,
I
right?
I do.
But I want to go back to the code enforcement part too. So we do have a code enforcement that we combined with our assistant planner. And he is actually, believe it or not, we've been hammering developments, all these other entities that have some issues with code enforcement. However, you can't get to all of them, right? We've actually stickered some developments and told them to stop developing until we get some situations resolved with trash, with the way that they look on the landscaping on the outside, things like that. And so it's actually working for us right now. It's just, we haven't necessarily gone out to some of these other areas where you see challenges maybe in some of our areas here north, just in a core of Star, and to try to approach that stuff yet. We're working our way out and.
Okay.
So it is there. It's just not a specific code enforcement position. At one point, we were going to try to do it through the policing model, but that was an additional cost that we felt that we could keep in-house right now and not add it to that.
Well, I understand the subdivisions and the trash and all of that. But I have always been a person who looks at how other people see.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell you when they come in from the east, it isn't pretty.
No, I get it. Yeah.
And we've got to have pride in our city.
Yep.
So
Okay.
that's all I got.
Thank you,
Believe
Ms.
it or not.
Teresa.
Mr. Mayor,
Oh, you're not done yet, Ms. Teresa. We
I'm
got
sorry.
Councilman Keys.
Okay.
I just wanted to say, I have seen you at every one of the budget hearings since I've been here and also when I was out there. I just want to say thank you very much for,
Oh, you're welcome.
for being engaged with the city and our budget.
Watching you.
I love it. Awesome. Thank you. Mr. Jared Thompson. Oh, yeah, thank you. I guess I could shut that off.
Hello, Jared Thompson, 10229 West Golden Rain Street here in Star. I would like to start by saying I watched and looked around the group of people here as we said the Pledge of Allegiance, and I believe every single one of them was mouthing the words, saying the words, holding their hands to their hearts, and understands that we live in the best, most wonderful country in the world. I also believe that every one of these people who lives in this city believes that we live in the best city in Idaho, in the United States. Having said that, I look at this list of these cities and the colored list of these full-time and part-time mayors and this list of cities. I've lived in 6 of those cities. I live here because this is the best, okay? I don't want to, no offense if anybody does live in Meridian in here, I'm sorry. I don't want to live in some place that's a zoo, like driving through the middle of Meridian. I work off Eagle Road. I love to be able to work from home most of the time, and that's fantastic, but I hate driving through Meridian. It's a mess. I can't help but wonder if they hadn't changed to their mayor's full-time, right? I don't know when that was, when that conversion was, but maybe if they converted their mayor from part-time to full-time sooner, and maybe at a higher salary to get somebody in there who's doing the job the way our current mayor does, maybe it wouldn't be quite the mess it is. I'm looking at it from the perspective of, I want to look at this city. I've lived in Star for 21 years. I lived in Eagle for 10 years before that. I grew up in Boise. Okay, I remember driving out here to the city of Star, and I grew up over by Capitol High School, and I remember it taking forever. And there was just cornfield after cornfield and, just open land. And it was so much of this development I've seen come up. By the way, I like looking at Mike's farm equipment sitting there. It reminds me of Star and what it used to be. So it maybe having known the history of that makes me appreciate it. Thank you. But I appreciate where we live. I want to look at this city 10 years from now and look at this moment and say, this is when we made the decision to start investing more in our future and having a better laid out plan for how this city is going to grow. I think the changes that this city council has made so far has been fantastic. I love the ITD agreement to get funds that are collected to and sent to ITD by development in Star to be used in the bounds of the city of Star. Revolutionary. I don't know of any other mayor who's done that. I don't know of any other city that has an agreement like that. I challenge anybody who is against this to name any mayor that's doing a better job. I look at this and I say, to me, 40,000 at part-time is an absolute given to 80,000 at full-time. And I think we need to pay a higher than that to
Thank you. Was that
retain
3
good
minutes?
talent. Yep, thank you.
Time's up. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I think is it Christera Carlson? Oh, Christina, sorry. I couldn't read it. Do you want to come up and speak? It's your turn. We're to you right now.
Yeah, right. I thought.
My name's Christina Carlson. I live at 258 South Alcove here in Star, and very articulate everybody here tonight. I met Teresa here last year.
Thank you.
At the budget meeting, and since that was my first meeting here in the city of Star, and am very much impressed with this city since I've moved here a year ago and wanted to get involved in the city and just learn about it. Mayor Chadwick, very impressive. With regards to your salary, sadly, you will not always be the mayor here in Star. And hopefully you are the standard of all future mayors. However, that's not necessarily going to happen. Going to Councilman Nielsen's perspective, I'm a numbers person. We've talked about that before. I'm an analyst. I deal with numbers, data. I think it's valuable to consider what goes into that compensation. I don't think it should be based on the private sector. I don't want a politician, a career politician in that position. I don't think that's why any of you ran for the positions, is because of the salary. But I do want our mayor to be able to live in our town. The cost of housing here is growing. I think consideration of the cost of housing and being able to afford that in some equation to consider that, whether it's a base mortgage for that period of that term, with some cost of living understanding, you know, and a compensation for living and expenses. Whether it's full-time or part-time, I don't think that matters. It's the job and the dedication, which is going to change from mayor to mayor. So I think some fundamental formula for what that is that allows the mayor to live in the town and expenses in addition to the cost of living. A couple of other things that were mentioned in the budget were the ARPA funds. Did I say that right? We all know that that's going to be tied to something. And I'm curious if the council has considered what are the conditions of that money? And if those conditions are overburdensome to the city, and have those been reviewed? I know that you're still looking into that and waiting for those. But what does that do with that money with regards to contingencies on that? The rebate. With regards to the rebate, you had already said $50,000 for managing that. What about escheats? When that money can't be returned?
What about what? I'm sorry.
Escheats, to money that cannot be returned, rebated, where does that go? Who's responsible? Does it come back to the city? Does it go to the state? What happens to the money that cannot be identified and given back to the person that you're rebating it to? Yeah, that's okay. No, that's okay. Thank you very much.
No, that's, yes, sir. Go ahead.
Oh, thanks. So I agree with what you said regarding, you know, you can't really go to the private sector to find a direct correlation. And I'm not doing that either. You know, if we did, I think I mentioned it would be twice as much as what we're proposing, right? So I'm curious though, as you've thought about this, is there a number that you have in mind that you think is appropriate?
I haven't done all the research that all these wonderful people have done. If I just come up with numbers, I'm a little bit familiar with real estate because of the industry that I'm in. Numbers that were coming to mind were, right now, what is a mortgage coming in to this city right now at today's mortgage rate? So what would that be? Well, a mayor coming in, we want to make sure that he lives here and he can cover that. We'll just say, I'm not going to go high, $2,500, right? Then living expenses, basic living expenses, we'll say $2,000 a month. I really want my mayor to have a job in the community. I want him to keep in touch with it. So whether it's part-time, it's entrepreneurial or whatever. So I don't want it to necessarily cover all, but I want it to make sure that he's, you know, living in this. So if we're talking about, we'll just say $2,500 a month, 2,000 expenses, That's 4,500 a month over 12 months. What's that? Somebody do the math. I'm not math yet. That's what calculators are for, I heard. My point being, yeah, 52. My point being, it is a number that as citizens, we can identify with, right? We want our mayor to live here. We can think about $2,000 expenses with cost of living increases. We can identify that. I think another consideration is also means or median of the income of the city. I don't want necessarily, to make the mayor rich, sorry, Mayor Chadwick. But I don't, I want to consider that as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. Start with Denise. Denise, or whatever. Can't get it out.
Denise Van Doren, 11071 West Frost. How's that? Is that better? So first of all, I brought this up a few years ago, and I'm hoping that maybe you guys will do something this time. Those chairs are really uncomfortable.
These chairs?
Can we please, you got a little coin in your pocket. Can we get some? I have set my rear end on those for years and years, and I'm sure everybody agrees, they're really uncomfortable. So do you think maybe we could do that? Anyways, just a thought. I have lived here for 21 years and have attended a few council meetings and several budget hearings. And I've seen a lot of different people in these seats. And I really wanted to stand up here tonight and commend all of you. This last couple of years it's just been incredible to see the changes that have taken place. I know it's a very dynamic group. We have obviously a mayor that's leading the charge here, but I'm really, really happy with the progress that we've made. And the budget this year, I mean, that packet was really well done. It explained things very well. And I've had all my questions answered, believe it or not. I'm not going to ask any questions specific to the budget tonight, but that's really what I wanted to say. Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Keys.
Denise, you're another person I want to thank for always being here and for always holding the city accountable for our finances. Thank you.
Okay. So unless we have a missing sheet, that's all that signed up to speak.
So this is the newsletter sign up. We have Jared Thompson and Ken and Peggy Williams.
Okay, did
Did
any
you
of you
sign
want
up
to
on the
speak?
incorrect thing?
Okay. No, I just want to make sure that, okay, good. All right. So with that said, that's all that we have for public testimony. We do have some written testimony that Jacob is gonna be the beneficiary of reading, I guess, into the record.
I'm not gonna make it rhyme, Hershey. Okay, so I'm gonna mutilate this room, name Steve Magiak,
Spell it.
M-A-D or M-A-G-D-Z-I-A-K.
Okay, and then are you gonna give the address just like people do? there?
I'm gonna read what it says. To the Star City Council, I'm a
Are you going to
resident.
limit him to 3 minutes?
Yes, for each
Yes.
one.
I'm a resident of Star at 456 North Knox Avenue. I'm against the following: to a full-time mayor, to a salary increase to the mayor or anyone employed by the city, to a budget increase of any sort that would increase debt and or taxes on the residents. Sincerely, Steve Magid. Yeah.
Okay,
Next is from Chief Jake Vogt. I'm reaching out to voice my support for the proposed change to the Star Mayor position in the fiscal year 2022 annual budget. I understand the proposed change will make the Star Mayor position full-time from its current part-time. I've been the chief of police for the city of Star for the last 5 years. During that time, I've seen the city grow immensely. The city continues to grow, as does the surrounding area. Years ago, a mayor was appropriate during limited growth and smaller population. A part-time mayor doing part-time hours cannot properly manage a city that is growing like ours. Growth is difficult, if not impossible to stop. We must plan for it, and part of that planning leads to the mayor job description change. The mayor needs to be staffed full-time to help manage the city. There are countless meetings he or she must attend in a timely manner to stay on top of things. Surrounding the cities have large support staff to help their mayors with day-to-day tasks. Star is not like that. The Star mayor handles a lot of those tasks personally. I understand that this change, if approved, will affect the current mayor and all future mayors. The current mayor works way more than standard full-time hours in the interest of our city already. He understands it's not a 9-to-5 job. The mayor works hard for the city and its citizens to best shape our future. It's time to make this position full-time. Respectfully submitted, Jake Vogt.
So the only request I have is you got to have some more enthusiasm in your reading voice. Because you're going to put everybody to sleep out here.
Dana, can you get me some more cola? Yeah, cola. Yeah, sort of. Sugar. Yeah, otherwise it might get really exciting. Okay, so this is from the Star Middleton Fire District's Greg Tominski. To whom it may concern, I'm writing this letter in support of the city of Star making the position of mayor full-time position. Woo-hoo! For the past 8 years, as the fire chief of Star Fire Protection District, I have been required to work closely with the city of Mayor, required to work. Did you hear that?
Yeah, required.
Okay, with the city's mayors in order, that's pretty bad, isn't it? To properly plan for the impact of the explosive growth the city has seen. The current mayor is very dedicated and hardworking. However, it has become more and more difficult for him to manage the increase in the city's demands, and it's close to impossible to keep up as a part-time mayor due to the rapid growth. The city of Star has nearly doubled in size over the past few years and shows no sign of slowing down. Star is one of the fastest growing cities in the Northwest. It is a very crucial time for the city administration to have the resources and tools to plan accordingly. The mayor has done an amazing job leading one of the fastest growing cities in Idaho while doing his best to keep the small town feel in an explosive growth economy. An excellent relationship between our two taxing entities, the city of Star and the Star Fire Protection District, is primarily due to his efforts and desire to build a cohesive relationship with all partnering agencies. This is often not the case in neighboring cities, and I feel we are very fortunate. I strongly encourage the city and increase the position of the mayor to full-time Fire Chief, Middleton Star Fire District, Greg Tominski. And by just a moment. Hey, oh, that's even better. Don't get diabetes, folks. It sucks. Yeah. No, this is good. Okay. This is from Dave and Beth Drabeck. To my fellow citizens of Star, first and foremost, this letter is in full support of Mayor Chadwick, and it is even more support of him as a full-time mayor. We have lived in Star since 2016, this valley for 33 years, and have known Trevor Chadwick for most of that time. Some years ago, Trevor and I worked together on a management team with a company in the valley. Trevor approached his work with focus and passion, just as you've seen him perform on the council and as our mayor. My wife and I have been to the meetings over comprehensive planning and are very pleased with the direction that Mayor Chadwick and the council are directing the growth and development of Star. We're not fans of the exponential growth that has occurred, but we know it is inevitable and very confident in the planning and execution. Above all else, we are very appreciative of having city leadership that actually listens to constituents and is transparent in their efforts. We have challenges in Star, and we need and want full-time dedication to guiding Star in the optimal direction. This is one of the best communities in Idaho, and we need solid leadership to keep the balance of growth and quality living in place. And that requires a full-time mayor, especially one who cares deeply about his family and community. Thank you, Dave and Beth Drabeck. Woohoo. Could I hand this over to you for this?
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
I just want to, are the woo-hoos actually in the letters you've gotten?
Yeah.
You have more to read or, oh, Chris is
Yeah,
reading it.
yeah, I'm good. I'm
Oh,
reading
good.
10.
Now we got an attorney reading them.
This is from Nick and Barbara Schultz, 10453 West Otter Rock Drive. And this is actually addressed to Council President Hershey. Dear Mr. Hershey, we are writing to express our sincere and deeply felt support for Mayor Chadwick. We have met our mayor on several occasions, both times during meetings that he held to get community response to different issues that affect the city of Star. We found Mayor Chadwick to be approachable, professional, and courteous, very open to suggestions while holding a clear point of view regarding the issues. We are deeply appreciative of his commitment to managing the stunning growth in Star, while also retaining the atmosphere that attracts people to this beautiful city. His leadership is that of a man deeply committed to the city and willing to work tirelessly on behalf of Star. We attended both the Memorial Day service where he spoke and the July 4th celebration. Both events were top-notch and unforgettable. The Memorial Day service was very touching, and the July 4th event was the best we've ever seen. We feel strongly that the position of mayor should be full-time, and we have no issue with the proposed salary. Considering the hours Mayor Chadwick invests in our town, his availability to every citizen, and how much he cares about the things that we also care about, we feel like the city of Star is in good hands under his leadership. Please feel free to contact us with any questions. Nick and Barbara Schultz. This one's from Kevin Wheelock. Dear City Council, I am Kevin Wheelock. I live at 1481 North Star Road. I have looked through the budget and watched through the years, as many of you know. I feel informed and I support the raise from part-time to full-time for our mayor. I believe you will make the right decision as to the value. I believe that we have never had a mayor put forth the effort that Mayor Chadwick has. He is every bit a six-figure mayor. I feel that $90K a year is good with a bonus from the city council, as it is earned like a bonus from the private sector. He would get that, in my opinion, easily. Maybe future mayors would not stack up. I support your decision. I support the full-time mayor, ! Kevin Wheelock. This is from Scott Smith. Mayor, to whom it may concern, Mayor Chadwick, I feel in all aspects of his duties is the best mayor we have had in years. I have been a resident of Star, Idaho for 17 years now, and hands down, he is the most qualified mayor we have ever had. I believe we as a thriving city in Idaho in these times would benefit from him becoming a full-time mayor. And as I have sat with and discussed this matter with other members of our amazing community, we all agree his salary is well worth a six-figure. He is worth every penny in my eyes, and my family's eye is outgoing, very personable, and loves this community with everything he has. Thank you for your time, Scott Smith. This is from Larry Osborne. Dear City Council, my name is Larry Osborne. I live at 1855 North Icefire Place in Star. I have looked through the budget and have participated in the community over the past 7 years, as you may be aware of. I feel like I am informed and I want to support the raise from part-time to full-time for the mayor position. I know that as a council, you will make the best decision of the community. Since I have been here in Star, I believe the Mayor Chadwick has raised the level of leadership and expectations for the mayor. I feel that $90K a year is a good start for the full-time position. Maybe a bonus can be earned for certain things accomplished. I support your decision and I support the full-time mayor. Helping people find and follow Jesus, Larry Osborne. From Hans Hamilton. Dear City Council, my name is Hans Hamilton. We are newer members of the community, having been here for about 3.5 years. In that time, we have had the opportunity to meet Mayor Chadwick on several occasions. We are very impressed with his dedication to this community. From all that we have seen, we fully support his transitioning to full-time and with the full suggested raise that would come with it. He is well worth the investment in the community. Thank you, Hans Hamilton. From Judy Wheelock. I am Judy Wheelock. I live at 1481 North Star Road, Star. I have been involved with the city of Star in many ways. I have seen all our mayors do good things. Mayor Chadwick by far has done the most in the short time he has been in office. He has shown his love for the community and has worked many long weeks for it. I see our town could greatly benefit from a full-time mayor, and the pay should be appropriate. I know Mayor Chadwick is worth $100,000, but maybe not the next mayor. Maybe some kind of base with a bonus. Not sure how that would work, but something to consider. Thanks, Judy Wheelock. Yeah, 3 more, thank you. Kurt, this is from Kurt Grindell, 10347 West Lothbury Drive. My wife and I just moved into our house on July 2nd. We have met several neighbors during the 6-month build, and often your name came up with admiration. Often these neighbors encourage me to meet you. The story about the full-time mayor doesn't faze me in the least, especially looking at the proposed salary. Personally, I think it is a bargain, and not because I come from California, but because I've been involved in local politics and know how much work goes into community positions. I retired from being a fire commissioner, board of director for 30 years on the Nevada County LAFCO for nearly 15 years. My legacy will be heading the services in the best direction while the state was headed for disaster. I chose STAR as it resembles the quality of life I'm used to. Our new house in Heron River and across from the proposed park. I understand you're supporting the local residences, and the park proposal might be an urban interface park. I do believe that is the best proposal as it serves their transition to the Boise River well. My background is horticulture, agriculture, and botany. Our first month here has been a delight. The community and neighbors are most welcoming. I do want you to know you have our support and best wishes. Sincerely, Kurt Grundle. You want the last two?
Dear Star City Council, this is from Tom Erlebeck. I'm writing to let you know that I fully support the mayor's position becoming full-time and increasing the salary to an amount that is not only appropriate for the increase in hours, but also taking into consideration the Star's population has doubled in the past 10 years. As a former 3-term city council member, I've had the pleasure of working with several mayors, not only in Star, but around the valley. Mayor Chadwick has a passion to serve and love of his community that is admirable. He also has the education and political pedigree that bring a unique set of talents to our city. In order to attract a mayor of his caliber, compensation should be enough to attract quality candidates. We are the epicenter of growth in the nation, and we need a leader to navigate through the challenges associated with this growth. Of course, we could continue to pay our mayor $40,000, but I believe you get what you pay for. A $40,000 per year mayor may have cut it 10 years ago, but it's not enough anymore. Star has always been conservative with its finances, and in reviewing Mayor Chadwick's budget presentation, it looks like the mayor and council are continuing to be fiscally responsible. I do not believe that increasing the mayor's salary will change that. Double the pay for double the amount of work seems fair to me. As far as the extra $20,000 the council suggested, anyone that is willing to do this job that deserves much as hazard pay for dealing with Star's single-term ex-city council member turned keyboard warrior. Respectfully submitted, Tom Erlebeck. And we have the final one from Justin May.
All right. Oh, okay, go ahead. Is this the last one?
This is the last one.
Okay, good.
My name is Justin May. I live at 683 North Culver Creek Avenue in Star. I want to express my support for increasing our mayor's salary. I believe that the mayor's position is one that requires exceptional leadership talents. This includes organization, efficient communication, visionary outlook, honesty, and selflessness. These are qualities that are in high demand and in short supply in the business world. It is critical that we offer a salary that will not require those wanting to run and serve our community to sacrifice their financial security. As a business owner, I can testify that it takes a 6-figure income to attract the top management talent. I view this decision more about who our next mayor is as opposed to our current mayor, Chadwick. While I haven't agreed with every decision he has made, I can testify to his work ethic, honesty, and absolute desire to do what is best for the city of Star. I also believe that if this increase in salary for the mayor's position isn't passed, Mayor Chadwick will continue to put forth his full effort and time into the position. I watched Mayor Chadwick turn our city's hometown celebration from a public tax liability to one fully financed by local businesses. He did this while insisting everything was available for no charge to the public, from the kids' water games to the luncheon. He insisted that nobody would be left out because of inability to pay. While working part-time, Mayor Chadwick, working with the Star City Council, put into place several complex initiatives. These include the South of the River Downtown Plan, updated comp plan agreements with other agencies to have growth pay for itself, the River House, the dog park, and the list goes on. These are not things that are simplistic nor can be achieved by an average leader. To summarize my point, we need a very talented leader to lead our city. We must make sure that we don't limit who can or is willing to apply the job because we aren't compensating that position fairly. Sincerely, Justin May.
Okay, is that it?
Thank God.
And I haven't been, I haven't been read to like that since I was a kid, so. That was,
Still didn't go to sleep.
I still don't go to sleep. That is all that we have for the testimony for tonight. As a reminder, we are not making a decision or deliberating this tonight. It'll happen on August 17th hearing. We are going to keep open the record for written testimony up until August 13th. So it's very important that that written testimony, if you wish to submit it, gets submitted to Mr. Jacob Qualls. And that was J Qualls, JQUALLS@staridaho.org. Okay? Thank you. So we're done with this for tonight, and then we'll move on to the next item. But we're gonna take a 5-minute recess to let people leave that choose to leave. So, thank you. Okay, Jennifer, can you hear us?
I can.
Okay, good. All right, so we're gonna bring this meeting back to order. It's 9:12. We're gonna move on to the next item on our agenda, which is the reconsideration for Cranefield subdivision. And Sean, I'll have you speak to this.
Mr. Mayor, council, thank you. I provided you with a memo from staff and also the letter from the petitioner regarding the request for reconsideration of Cranefield subdivision. The city received a request for reconsideration of the council decision approving the Cranefield subdivision by Patrick J. Galloway, the petitioner, representing the Pinewood Lakes Community Association, Inc. A copy of the request was included as part of my memo. Included with the request by the association is a challenge to the approval decision, citing the failure to require proper ingress and egress to and from the subdivision, failure to make adequate plans for traffic impacts, and the failure to require an easement area as a buffer between the subdivision and the Pinewood Lakes community. The petitioner has also indicated specific deficiencies in the adopted findings of facts and conclusions of law. City staff has worked with special legal counsel for the city in reviewing the request for the reconsideration. Regarding the traffic-related issues brought up by the petitioner, it is staff's conclusion that the ACHD report for this development was included as part of the staff report and as part of the administrative record. Included within the ACHD report is the traffic impact study submitted by the applicant and accepted by ACHD. ACHD included site-specific conditions of approval to address traffic impact and mitigation required. Regarding failure to require an easement area as a buffer between the two subdivisions, council considered this issue during the public hearing and rendered its decision, including site-specific conditions of approval addressing transitional mitigation required by the developer. Staff does not believe that the petitioner has raised a valid argument regarding deficiencies in the, staff does believe that the petitioner has raised a valid argument regarding deficiencies in the content of within the findings of fact as they specifically relate to section 8.1B.1.C and 8.6.A.7 of the Unified Development Code for annexations and rezones and preliminary plats. Specific findings and conclusions to each section referenced above should have been included as part of the adopted finding. Therefore, it is the recommendation of staff that council grant the request for reconsideration and make additions to the findings of fact that address the specific claims made by the petitioner regarding section 8.1B.1.C and 8.6.A.7, including but not limited to incorporating the staff report into the official decision of the findings of fact. Conclusions of law. Staff recommends that these findings be brought back to the council on August 17th, 2021 for approval. If the council is concerned with this recommendation from staff, the other alternatives recommended by staff would include deny outright the request for reconsideration or postpone the decision on request for reconsideration and consult further with the special legal counsel in executive session on August 17th, 2021.
Any questions or comments of council?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Keys.
so I do have some questions, but before I do that, I would like to go on the record is saying that I'm actually a member of the Pinewood Lakes Community Association, Inc., who is being represented by the petitioner, Mr. Galloway here. So I'm apparently paying part of his salary, number one. And number two, I would like, what was I going to say? I forgot what I was, oh, no, I was going to actually commend the association for doing a really good job about keeping me in the dark about this. But having said that, I think I can act fairly in this matter, and I don't think I need to recuse myself. I wish I had counsel here who could advise me on that, but I did want to go on the record.
Okay. He is not recusing himself. Councilman Keys is not recusing himself from this decision.
And Mr. Mayor and Council, I believe that's consistent with Mr. Key's participation in the first go-around. in which
Correct.
He also stated his.
I'm
Correct.
just gonna say ditto. I live there too. And they keep me way in the dark. Like I don't even get emails on anything. I mean, it's like,
So Councilman Hershey, you are not recusing yourself, correct?
no, I didn't recuse myself from the first one and I don't see why
Okay.
I should recuse myself from this one.
Mayor
So-
Chadwick?
You don't live in the subdivision, I know that.
I do not.
Councilman Nielsen.
I do go to the credit union nearby though.
Oh.
No, that's not what.
All right. Councilman Nielsen.
That's not what I wanted to say. I have a question about, well, first of all, I'll say that I'm okay with the request here, but I have a question that the HOA Inc. did not come and participate as a, somebody who provided testimony. Do they have standing to make this request for reconsideration?
Mr. Mayor and Council, our special legal counsel did weigh that in to her discussion with me. Yes and no. I mean, it representatives, members of the association did testify. Did they testify as private citizens or as members of the HOA? That was kind of the dilemma that she had when she was looking at that. But I think her decision was move forward with the request for reconsideration or move forward with accepting.
So
the
legally,
request.
no, but technically, yes. Okay.
And that's really kind of how the.
Well, I'd like to
That it was
move the, to make a motion that we agree to the reconsideration and to the staff's recommendation for August 17th.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that, but I have questions. So
Okay,
go to
we got a
deliberation.
motion and a second, and I just want to make sure, Jennifer, you still,
I am still
Attached?
here. Yep, I'm here.
Okay.
Thank you.
okay, do we have any further questions from the council?
I do, Mr. Mayor.
I
Go
do
ahead.
too, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Councilman Hershey could go first.
Sorry. I've only done one reconsideration. We did the whole thing over. Is that, were we just looking at, will they be presenting? Okay, it's just,
So will you please answer that?
It's, if you're going by staff's recommendation, the recommendation is to grant the request for reconsideration and direct staff to
bless you.
add to the findings of fact, conclusions of law, and bring those back for adoption,
Okay,
but not to reopen the public hearing.
that's
The
perfect.
problem
Thank you.
in the last one, Councilman Hershey, was there was a failure of the recording, so there was no record of the hearing. That's why we had to do the entire thing over.
I know there was one when we did a small subdivision. It was really late at night. We ended up not liking something. You brought forth the reconsideration and we did it.
That was.
Oh,
Mr.
that was
Mayor,
Iron
That was
Mountain.
Iron Mountain
Right.
Estates, yes.
Right, okay.
So I was just making sure I understood the process, and that's what it sounded like. Thank
Okay.
you.
Councilman Keys, your turn, sir.
Mr. Mayor, so I have a question. So now that the deficiency in our findings has been brought forward, without regard to whether or not we entertain this reconsideration, can we just fix that? Can we just bring new findings with, on the 17th? Even put it in the agenda before we even do this, if we vote to do this?
Yes, our legal counsel has stated we can do that.
Okay, and I guess I'd ask that we in fact do that. So,
I think that was part of the motion as far as what the recommendation was right here from from staff.
Okay, so I guess in general, I would prefer to table this action until the 17th when we have our council here and can ask questions of council. That would be my preference.
Help me understand, because I'm approaching this from an outcome, focus. So I'm having a hard time drawing a distinction between approving the reconsideration and just getting it done with, as staff has suggested on the 17th versus what you're suggesting. To me, it seems like it's the same either way. So help me understand that.
Well, I think there was, as I understand it, some legal opinions on whether or not we should do this or not, that there were upsides and downsides to both sides. And I would really prefer to speak with council about that in more detail before we chose a path.
And do you have those opinions outside of our, I guess I haven't seen those opinions. Where are they coming from?
You should have gotten an email about it earlier today.
Okay, I haven't read an email from today.
Okay, so we have this. Jennifer, do you have any discussion to add?
I do not.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second on in front of us right now. Any further discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Nielsen?
Having not read the email, the opinion that's in that email, I mean, is there a danger in the path? Does it change the staff's recommendation? Are we setting ourselves up for failure, or is it just drawing the process out?
Mr. Mayor and Council, the email was a legal opinion by our special counsel. And basically, the recommendations that staff has given you are all within that opinion to move forward with the options that I've presented. So I don't know if she's going to be able to give you any more information on the 17th that she did not provide to staff, and staff in turn has made that recommendation to you tonight.
Okay, thank you.
I have one more question, sir.
Okay, Councilman Hershey?
Sean, in your opinion, expert opinion, do you have enough information to correct this deficiency that's been identified?
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing, go ahead, Miss Jennifer.
Yeah, I would just like to add, I did read through that memo, and I think that I would agree with Sean. I think that staff, I am confident that he would be able to, add this information into the facts and finding, and so we can proceed forward.
Okay. All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed, nay.
Okay,
And Mr. Mayor, I want to clarify that I'm not opposed to the reconsideration. I'm opposed to adopting it tonight without legal counsel being present.
okay, duly noted. You got that, Mr. Jacob? 3-1, that the reconsideration is approved and shall go forward as staff recommends. All right. On to item 6. Anything for, I guess we just have discussion items for ourselves, correct? So you want to talk about your resolutions that are coming forward that we're doing?
Sure.
Okay, I'm going to have Councilman Keys talk about some resolutions him and I have been talking about that'll be coming forward.
So, Mr. Mayor, the first resolution is regarding forming a Citizens Review Committee to review mayoral and council salaries going forward. I think it's a little too late this year to do that, but in future municipal election years, we would form a committee that would make a recommendation to the council. The council could choose to take that recommendation or modify it. But that would, I think, give a little more transparency to the process and get some citizen involvement. Another, well, that's the one resolution. Do you want to talk about the one you and I have been arm wrestling over?
Yep.
Okay.
Well, we're not really arm wrestling. It's whose is better.
Well, mine is better.
Before we talk about that, can I ask you a question on the other one?
Yes.
You mentioned that it would introduce more transparency. Could you talk about how it would be more transparent than what we have done in this process?
Well, I think what it does is it doesn't take all of it, but it takes some of the politics out of it. And we put a committee together that's, chosen from, citizens in Star who would meet publicly, and then, they would, I suppose, generate their own process for how they want to generate input. But there are some boundaries around, the types of information that they would want to consider.
City of Meridian does this currently right now.
Yeah, I'm not questioning the value. I was just questioning the transparency part of it. And I'm not sure that you've talked about transparency in your response. But I agree with all those things that you said. It's okay. We can move on.
Okay.
Let me pull up the second one. So the second, wrong. Yeah. So the second resolution would declare, it was basically similar to what the city of Nampa did yesterday. That would declare the city's intent to not mandate vaccinations for city employees or contractors. That would recognize that people should have good information and are responsible for their own health care, and allow them to make whatever choice they want.
That'll be coming forward. Okay.
Awesome. It's sad that we have to do that.
It is sad, but it's a stance that must be taken.
And why is yours better, Trevor?
Because I wrote it.
It's not.
It's funny. We both actually did it at the same time, and basically they crossed.
Yeah.
Yeah, they both came to him. Then we had one other.
I had an ordinance that I've been working on as well.
Yeah.
And after consultation with chief and our city attorney, it's an ordinance to create an open container law in Star. We don't actually have one. I think we're one of the few cities who doesn't have one, but it would give our law enforcement some more tools in their toolbox to help manage the things that the city expects them to manage.
And that'll be coming forth soon too. Yes, sir. Councilman Hershey.
An open container law? So you want them to have open containers?
Well, it depends on what's in them. So, yeah.
What's wrong with that brown paper bag? I can never tell what's in that thing.
Miss Jennifer, do you have anything?
I do not, thank you. Well, I guess I would add that the Parks and Beautification Committee, we are working on updating the park section in the comprehensive plan, just to give the rest of council a heads up that they will be coming to council for looking for making a recommendation to update the park section in the comp plan. And they're doing a lot of work on it, so I'm excited to see it come forward.
So Miss Jennifer has put a lot of effort into updating our comp plan, parks, to see if we're adequately staffed with parks as part of our capital improvements stuff that we'll be doing. So
Yep.
I thank you for doing all that. Okay. Anything else from staff or anybody? No? So we're gonna, it is, what is it? It's 9:31. We're gonna adjourn the meeting. Thank you.